Hi, I'm Candace, and this is Planted in the Word. And hopefully, if you've been coming by for any amount of time, you know that my whole joy in life is getting people to first read their Bible, and then really, if I can get them to study your Bible, that's even more exciting because the whole goal is to learn to begin to recognize the voice of your Father. And that really is the purpose of reading and knowing how God talks and how he interacts with us and recognizing his purpose in our lives. So I first did the Hebrew introduction series to help you understand how we got what we've got. And now I'm doing the tools series to try and help you learn how to dig a little bit deeper into your Bible. And so today I'm going to start at the very beginning. The best place to start when you are first beginning to dig into your Bible, not just read it, but dig a little bit deeper, is to start with a word study. So a word study is nothing more than recognizing a specific word in English that you decide maybe you should understand a little bit better if you studied it in its original Hebrew or Greek context. And a lot of times what happens is I decide where I'm going to dig down a little bit based upon what is happening in the passage that I'm reading. For example, if I come across something and I'm like, that's weird, or that doesn't make any sense, then that tells me this is a great place to dig. So I'm going to show you exactly how that looks today. In the beginning, we're going to read the passage together, one of the ones that I had stumbled over and decided to dig deeper into. And then I'm going to take you to my video screen, and I'm going to actually show you on the computer in Blue Letter Bible how I go about digging a little bit deeper into that passage. So when you come to a word or a passage that you don't understand, you have the tools available to go look into it for yourself. So let's just do an example word study together. And today, in order to do the word study, we're going to read passage Genesis 21, and we're going to read verses 22 to 31. That's Genesis 21, 22 to 31. And let me set this up just a little bit. Abraham has been approached by Abimelech, which is sort of the tribal king in the area at that time. And he recognizes that Abraham is growing, and he's becoming quite powerful. And frankly, he's a little afraid that if Abraham decided to fight him or come against him, he could really lose his territory. So he jumps the gun on this, and he goes to Abraham and he says, look, let's make a treaty, you and me. And Abraham says, okay, I'll make a treaty with you. And you'll discover as we read this passage what's sort of going on and what Abraham does and says. And then we'll take a specific word and we'll look at it closer. So on your screen is going to appear the passage, and then I'm going to read it for you. And then in a minute, we'll go and look at how you exactly look into one word. So Genesis 1, 22 to 31. Now it came about at that time that Abimelech and Pichol, the commander of his army, spoke to Abraham, saying, God is with you in all that you do. So now swear to me here by God that you will not deal falsely with me or with my offspring or with my descendants. But according to the kindness that I have shown you, you shall show to me and to the land in which you've resided. And Abraham said, I swear it. But Abraham complained to Abimelech because the well of water which the servants of Abimelech had seized. And Abimelech said, I don't know who has done this thing. You didn't tell me, nor have I heard of it until today. So Abraham took sheep and oxen and gave them to Abimelech, and the two of them made a covenant. But Abraham set aside 7 ewe lambs of the flock by themselves. Then Abimelech said to Abraham, well, what do these 7 ewe lambs mean, which you have set over here by themselves? And he said, you shall take these 7 ewe lambs from my hand, so that it may be a witness for me that I dug this well. Therefore, he called that place Beersheba, because the 2 of them took an oath. So what's happened is Abraham's people were digging a well. Abimelech's people were stealing the wells. And so Abraham says, look, your people are stealing my wells. If we're going to make a covenant or an oath, you're going to have to help me and honor this. And he says, okay, I will do that. But what's so interesting about this is that they're making an oath, but he gives them 7 ewe lambs. And it's kind of weird. In fact, even Abimelech goes, dude, why are you giving me these 7 ewe lambs? So let's dig down right there. We're going to do a word study on the word oath there. And we're going to look into it deeply and specifically see if we can figure out what's going on in this passage. by just doing a word study on the word oath.
So I've pulled up this passage again in Blue Letter Bible, and you can see that I'm using the NASB 95. That's the version I read out of. And I'm specifically going to focus in on Genesis 21:31, which has the fact that they both took an oath. So in order to separate this out, I'm going to go to my Tools button, over to the interlinear, which will pull up just that verse, and we'll divide that verse by all the Strong's numbers. And if I come down to that word, they swore an oath, I see that it's going to say they swore. This is that word shivah. Hebrew 7650. If I click on that link, it's going to take me specifically to the word shivah, and that's where it's going to give me some additional information. For example, that word is translated 167 times as the word swear. And it means to take an oath, can also be to curse. But if I come down a little bit, I will see in the lexicon of Brown Driver Briggs that they add some additional information. It's a verb, meaning to swear. Probably means to say, or it means to seven oneself, or bind oneself by 7 things. If I come down a little bit further, I'm going to see in an additional lexicon, this one a little older, that this word, shivah, actually means 7. If I come up to the top of the page, I can discover that this particular verb, if I go forward 1 Strong's entrance, it will pull up the next entrance, which is now 7651, the exact same word, shivah, and this time I will see that it actually means 7. So what I understand now is the word shivah means both 7 and oath. I hope that you find that interesting. We'll talk about that again in just a second.
Okay, now that you have seen that and you understand that really an oath is the same thing as a 7. What he's doing is he is sevening himself. He is making these 7 ewe lambs as an oath. They are literally a representation of this oath or this tying together or this promise that they're making together. So we see this now when we understand that oath, shivah, and 7 are the same thing. Now as you read through your Bible and you see the 7s, shivah, you're going to understand these have some greater meaning. Sometimes it's God, and God's tying himself to something. Sometimes it's people, and they're tying themselves to something. If you think about this, there's 2 places you may recognize this if you're involved with the Jewish culture at all. The first one is Jews actually will sit after a death, shivah, and that is they will sit a 7. And what that means is they will usually cover the mirrors, stop the clocks, and the family will come together for 7 days and mourn over the lost one. You see this in Job. That's called sitting shivah or sitting a 7. The second one is in a Jewish wedding, the bride will circle the groom 7 times. What is she doing? She's literally sevening herself to her bridegroom. She's tying herself to him. Hope this entices you to do word studies in your Bible. We will probably come back and visit this again as I encourage you to start digging deeper into the word for yourself. I'm so glad you came by. Have a good day.